West till they bury me. I'm one West till they bury me. I'm one West till they bury me. I be one West to the death till they bury me. One West till they bury me. I'm one West till they bury me. I'm one West till they bury me. I be one West to the death till they bury me. I be one West to the death till they bury me. They ain't scaring me. Rip the soul out of Pharisee. Speaking heresy and get you fucked up apparently. It's like they daring me. I said chill, they ain't hearing me. They ain't listening. Every bar nitroglycerin. Hit your heart, bring it back to start, make you live again. Get them dividends or we start getting ignorant. I be on that soldier shit. I told you shit phenomenal. Nah, but he abdominal. So what you suckers trying to do? Rhyming comical. Guess it's funny until I'm bombing you. Bring apocalypse to them pussy niggas that's popping shit. Team of all-stars, I coach them up like I'm Popovich. Fuck the politics and the lobbyists and apologists. They vagina, so we gon' check them like gynecologists. It's kinda obvious how the situation is ominous. The way I vomit this and regurgitate for the audience. They start applauding this cause the competition is fraudulent. From the era where niggas smoke you up like a parliament. The flow been stupid, shit has gotten retarded since. All the dominance of one West rising to prominent. Cause I be one West to the death till they bury me. I'm one West till they bury me. I be one West to the death till they bury me. I'm one West till they bury me. I be one West to the death till they bury me. I'm one West till they bury me. I be one West to the death till they bury me. I'm one West till they bury me. They want a nigga quiet, mute my maneuvers, but I ride like I got Groupons for Uber. Rhymes hard like they been viewed by Medusa. 9 milli Luger, 17 in the Ruger. Only need a few to sit up in your medulla. Obligata for the regatta, niggas wildin', they win every dollar. They riding by in black Impalas, let the semi holler. The showstopper been the proper since the teeny bopper. But now I'm growing them off Patron, a premium of vodka. I put extensions on the Glock, modify the chopper. The swore heavy, war ready, and that's worth the mama. No marijuana, say I got the loudest silence on it. When I'm up on it, ain't no rapper do it like I do it. A lot of spitties and writers, but when the heat's on, none of them can get to the fire around with me. And I had them niggas spin like a tire, but down the deep, and I'm still dope as a piper. Every bar burn hard like a spoon with a lighter. Fuel to igniter, I'm winning, coming through with the title because UPK. I be one West to the death till they bury me. I'm one West till they bury me. I be one West to the death till they bury me. I'm one West till they bury me. I be one West to the death till they bury me. I'm one West till they bury me. I be one West to the death till they bury me. I'm one West till they bury me.
Any man give his life for Yahweh Shai, Mashiach, and Christ, and fall up under that UPK banner. It's my brother and my blood, and I will die and kill for him if necessary.
Go to ground, 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 go to ground. It's all about that warfare, boy. Give ground, give ground, back up, give ground, give ground, back up, give ground, give ground. It's all about that warfare, boy. Take ground, 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 take ground. My soldiers take ground till them stand down. Take ground, take ground, take ground, take ground, take ground, take ground, take ground. My soldiers take ground till them stand down. Take ground, take ground, take ground. Nah, this ain't no movement, this a takedown. We will not be moved or intimidated. listen, I can't let no hoe lie to me. I don't feel these rappers, oh they lies is hypocrisy. Ain't no competition, ain't no rivalry. Nigga think I'm playing, I don't hear one word they saying. This shit light work. Think Muhammad one of us, he might lose his life first. Circle up and stay alert. Another cop just stretch the nigga. He a demon, this an exorcism. Watch I bless the nigga. You took that open blood, then you know I'm gon' get active with ya. Fuck the opposition, I see vision. Let me paint the picture. Rappers claim they spit and I ain't listening. Is effective. If revenge was a woman, now I stroke that bitch like Jack the Ripper. War, we gon' run the summer. It's gon' be historical. Thought they making plays, made them niggas call the audible. Ask who run this shit, but that question is rhetorical. Bitch, I'm the one, me cookies with the oil. I'ma get him crackers, hell, should've never kidnapped my family. I can't do that. Bet I be the last nigga standing. Do a life sentence for my niggas, pray you understand me. I might put a switch on this Glock and call it young baby. How you real triggering on them dots? You a bird feeder, claiming he a demon. What's a demon to a cold leader? What he saying something, I ain't hear him. This shit like it ain't about who got the gun, it's about who gon' up that pipe first. I turn a bad situation to a game changer. Bring soldiers from the dead, just raised up the chain. 6 shots, I'ma look like Aaron Jones when I run it. Never bite the hand that feeds you, you'll never get that hand back. He bitchin' about 10%, I don't wanna hear none of that. He dropping sword, fuck him, just make sure you get that cover back. Look around, he ain't with us, probably cause he never was. Now my chin like you with the angels for your brothers. Everybody wanna be Richard Porter, God kill him like Alpo. Play if he want, it's laying in the trunk like Lee Malvo. I'm a certified woman's ass nigga, I am not a toy. Hey, I with that hollow side, yeah, this the real McCoy. Feel like Gullah Jack when I'm in Fayetteville, you feel your boy. Still about my brain, still I think that's all that I do. The way I get that boy lost, they gon' start to call him Elroy. Fuck his game, pop out on them demons like I'm Hellboy.
Hey, Shalom Israel, bear with me. Hey, Shalom Israel. This is the Wednesday night history class. Remember to check out Commanding General Yohanna's radio show, which is 2 a.m. UK time. On a Monday, we have classes here, Monday through Friday. So we have classes live in the physical school, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, 7 p.m. till 9. We have the Brotherhood class on Tuesday. We have the Lashon Kodash on Friday. And also, any questions, just type them in the chat and we'll get to them. So today we're going to go into the complete history of the King James Bible, how it came around, what sources they used, what manuscripts they copied from, what and so forth, who was the translators, what was their skill set, what was the knowledgeable in, how did they pick the translators and so forth, what was changed and so forth. So we're going to go over all of that because a lot of people like to say the Bible's been changed, so we're going to go over all of that. So like, bear with me 1 second, just take this call. Hey, so lucky. So we have those classes, but now we're gonna go over the history. We're gonna go over the history of the King James version of the Bible. So we're gonna go over it right now. So we're gonna go into it. Any questions? Just type them in. I got my brother Officer Habanyuga with me today, live from Manchester. We're gonna jump right in. Any questions? Just put them in the chat and we'll get to them. So lucky. Go ahead, Habanyuga.
One sec. Khan. In the second half of the 16th century, Queen Elizabeth presided over a church that was increasingly divided. The enthusiastic Roman Catholicism of her half-sister, Mary Tudor, had driven many Protestants abroad in the mid-1550s. and on the continent they had experienced forms of Protestantism.
So now, to understand the King James Version of the Bible, you have to understand what was going on in England at the time. So now you had Queen Elizabeth, who was a Protestant. She had a half sister called Mary, who was a Catholic. So these things was happening before King James was King of England. So England had different ruling classes. 1 minute had a Catholic monarch, an English monarch. So now all of these play a part into why we have the authorized version of the King James Bible. That's lucky. Go ahead.
They had experienced forms of Protestantism that were deemed purer than English Protestantism.
So now, at the time, a lot of the Puritans was mad at the Protestants. Why? Because the Puritans was a sect of Protestants, and they believed that the Protestants, which was the Church of England, they believed that they was letting a lot of Catholic practices into the Church of England. So the Puritans wanted a change. So a Puritan is short for, they wanted to purify the Church of England. So that's why they called them Puritans, because they wanted to purify the Church of England. So now they all of them signed a petition, and the petition made its way up to King James. So then they had a thing called the Hampton Court Conference, where they had a meeting in the Hampton Court. So the meeting was nothing to do with the Bible or a translation. The meeting was about the Church of England and Puritans and Protestants allowing Catholic practices. So that's initially what the meeting was about. Yes, Lucky, go ahead.
Which still retained many ceremonial vestiges of its Catholic origins.
So now this is why they was upset. Why? Because the Protestant Church or the Church of England contained many Catholic practices. Go ahead.
When the exiles returned on the accession of Queen Elizabeth, they became known as Puritans.
So the exiles, where was these exiles living? They was living in places like Germany. Why? Because there was Protestants over there. So the reason they was in exile, because Queen Mary was Catholic and she was killing Protestants. So they had fled to a Protestant country. And then when they came back to England, they didn't like how England was, because they was like, damn, how have we got crosses everywhere? How have we got this everywhere? Protestants ain't meant to have that. So then they became known as Puritans, meaning they wanted to purify the Church of England, meaning make it clean. That's what they wanted to do. So that's how they got the name Puritans. So Puritan is just a Protestant, but a more devout Protestant. That's what a Puritan is. That's Lucky. Go ahead.
In 1559, Elizabeth established a Protestant church, but there was a growing minority of Puritans who felt uncomfortable with the church government by bishops.
So now they didn't like bishops and all of these things. They didn't like bishops. They didn't like crosses. So then they wanted to purify it. Go ahead.
The ceremonialism of the 1552 prayer book and the Queen's attempts to keep ceremonial conservatives on side by advocating traditional vestments.
So they didn't like the fact that this is an English Protestant country and they have Catholic practices, because they was against the Catholic Church. So that's what the Puritans wasn't happy about. Go ahead.
Reintroducing a crucifix in her chapel. And
they was mad about the crucifix being in the chapel because the Protestants didn't like the cross and so forth, whereas Catholics was heavily into the idols, but the Puritans wasn't. Go ahead.
And at a later stage, limiting Puritan preaching. The firm government of Elizabeth kept the Puritan party in check, but her death in 1603 and the accession of James VI of Scotland to the throne of England as James I afforded an opportunity to the Puritans to present their views to the new monarch.
So now that's why they had the council, because they wanted to present their views to the new monarch. So after Queen Elizabeth died, that was like, she didn't listen to us. Now let's present it to King James. So now that's where you get the Hampton Council Conference from. Go ahead.
A petition said to have contained more than 1,000 signatures.
And 1,000 people signed it. And this made its way So that they called all the clergymen and they had a council. Go ahead.
and so known as the millenary petition, was drawn up and presented to the king. It centered on issues such as popish ceremonies and vestments, married clergy, the requirement that clergy be educated, and the grounding of doctrine in scripture rather than authority of the clergy. And the
And they wanted
tradition
men to be more into the scriptures than being famous for being a bishop or whatever. Go ahead.
the tradition of the church. James loved theological debate.
And if you know anything about King James loved theological debates, and that's why he wrote the book. That's why he wrote books. That's why he wrote Basilicum Duran. That's why he wrote Demonology, because he loved theology and those kind of books. So he would get into these religious debates and so forth. Go ahead.
And decided to convene a conference for which the agenda would be the millenary petition.
So now he decided to have a conference, and the conference was supposed to be about what the Puritans was complaining about. Go ahead.
In January 1604, King James assembled a group of bishops and moderate Puritans.
So he got both of them. He got a group of bishops and moderate Puritans. So he's bringing all of them together. He's bringing Catholics, Puritans together, Protestants together at this conference, so they can all hash out the differences and see what's the best way for the country to move forward. Go ahead.
Puritans at Hampton Court Palace for a 3-day conference.
And they had a 3-day conference. Go ahead.
The leader of the bishops was Richard Bancroft, Bishop of London, and the leader of the Puritans was John Reynolds.
Go ahead.
Bishop Bancroft's objection to a new Bible had been overruled, but he was willing enough to ensure that if the project was to proceed, he should have a controlling hand in the selection of translators and in the formulation.
At this meeting, they spoke about their religious beliefs, and then a man said to King James, I think we need a new Bible. I think we need an authorized version of the Bible. We need a Bible for England. And King James heard that, and because he was heavy into theology, he agreed. So he goes, okay then. So now this is how they decided they're going to come up with a King James version of the Bible. This meeting initially wasn't about that, but a man suggested it, and in the council they said, well, that's a good idea. Let's go with it. So now, before they came up with this authorized version of the Bible, they had certain stipulations of how the translation was going to be, of what they can do and of what they can't do. So, like, go ahead.
And in the formulation of the terms of reference that would guide their work, there were 15 rules to be observed in the translation of the Bible.
So in the Bible, those 15 rules to be observed in the translation of the Bible, meaning they told the translators, these are the rules, don't go outside of these rules. Go ahead.
Number one, the ordinary Bible read in the church, commonly called the Bishop's Bible, to be followed and as little altered as the truth of the original will permit.
And they said, number one, we're going to follow the order of the Bishop's Bible. Now, the Bishop's Bible was an English Bible, which came before the King James Version. So they said we're going to follow the order of the Bishop's Bible, because the Bishop's Bible was a good translation. So you don't want to go out there and say things like the Bishop's Bible's garbage, the Great Bible's garbage. Because if you go out there and say that, then you'd also be disqualifying the King James Version, because they used a lot of the Bishop's Bible when they came up with the translation of the King James Version. So they used a lot of those previous English Bibles when they came up with the King James Version. Go ahead.
This rule specified the version of the Bible was to be a revision of the Bishop's Bible.
See? So they said that the King James Version is supposed to be a revision of the Bishop's Bible. Go ahead.
For which the 1602 edition was used. rather than a fresh translation from the ancient languages.
But they were saying they don't want a fresh translation from the ancient languages. They're saying the great Bible, the Bishop's Bible is a great Bible. We're gonna revise that. Go ahead.
As the revisers say in the preface to the King James Version, the translators to the readers, their purpose was not to make a new translation, but to make a good one better.
But they said their plan ain't to make a new translation, but their plan was to make a good translation better. So their plan was to they acknowledged that the Bishop's Bible was a good translation, but they acknowledged that they're going to make the King James Version better. Go ahead.
The names of the prophets and the holy writers.
This is the second stipulation that they said not to change. They said don't change the name of the prophets. Go ahead.
The name of the prophets and the holy writers, with other names of the text to be retained as nigh may be according.
And they said keep the names as near as possible. So the names that you had in the Bishop's Bible, they said keep the names as near as possible. But obviously over time, the English language changes, so certain letters have to be used in certain different places. Go ahead.
According as they are vulgarly used. The term vulgarly does not have its modern sense of coarsely, but specifies a preference for the English form of names over the Hebrew and Greek forms. This, as will be seen below, is the rule that was most often transgressed.
So now they said this was the rule that was most often transgressed. So now they said certain rules that they put in place, they said this one was most transgressed, meaning the names changed and so forth. Let me get the next slide. Yes, Lucky, go ahead.
Rule 3, the old ecclesiastical words to be kept.
And they said the old ecclesiastical words to be kept. So the certain old words that they wanted to keep, even though over time the meaning of words changed, there was some words that was used so much back then that they was like, we're going to keep that word in the translation. Go ahead.
Viz, the word church not to be translated congregation, etc.
Even though church and congregation mean the same thing, but they wanted the word church instead of congregation.
The implementation of this rule was to be a persistent source of Puritan objections to the KJV, as Puritans appropriating Tyndale's argument preferred congregation to church.
So now Tyndale, they preferred congregation to church, and then back then the other scholars that was reading it was upset because they was like, you should have used the word church instead of congregation, but the words are interchangeable to mean the same thing. So okay, go ahead.
Wash to baptize.
And then they changed the word wash to baptize. But when you see the word wash and baptize, it means the same thing. But because Christians don't go into the etymology of words, they see the word baptize and then they think it's something super deep. They think it's something super, super deep. When wash and baptize, the words are interchangeable. So they look at baptism as something which is super deep, when all baptize means is to wash. So the word is letting you know that they use, instead of using the word wash, they use the word baptize, which is letting you know it's the same words. Go ahead.
Elder or senior to bishop.
And they change the word elder or senior to bishop. So that's why when you go in Timothy, you see the word bishop. Yeah, go ahead.
And minister to priest.
And minister to priest. Yes, Lucky, go ahead.
Am I reading 4 as well because it's not highlighted?
I'll just the highlight parts.
Go on. The division of the chapters to be altered, either not at all or as little as may be.
And they said the division of the chapters to be altered, even not at all or as little as may be. So they said don't change the order of the scriptures. So that's why if you go into the old Bible that they used to use before, you see the chapters in the layout is the same order and same numbers and so forth, because they said change it as little as possible. So they wanted everything near enough the same. Go ahead.
if necessity so require. By this time, the division of chapters into verses had become embedded, because the verse reference were an aid to memory. Hebrew and Greek manuscripts had been divided in various ways since late antiquity, but the system adopted by the KJV revisers had been introduced by the French publisher Robert Estienne, who divided chapters into verses.
We went over that part last week, so Lucky, go ahead.
In a series of Bibles in Greek and Latin, published in Geneva. These divisions had first appeared in an English version in the Geneva Bible of 1560 and had since become established.
There you go. Let me get this slide, Lucky. Go ahead.
Okay, 6. No marginal notes at all.
So now they said no marginal notes at all. Why? Because last week we went over, they had marginal notes, and they basically said it was right for the Egyptian women to not listen to Pharaoh. And King James saw those marginal notes, and he was like, people read this and think it's okay to disobey the king. So that's why King James didn't want no marginal notes in the King James Version. So this is the reason why you didn't see marginal notes in the King James Version. So okay, go ahead.
But only for the explanation of the Hebrew or Greek words.
So now, the only notes you would have seen in there is the explanation of the Hebrew or Greek words, because some words in Hebrew and Greek, you have to pull it in a sentence for it to make sense in English. So that's what it means. Or there could be one word with multiple meanings, so they'll put it in the margin. So okay, go ahead.
Without some so briefly and fitly be expressed in the text. The interdiction against expository marginal notes may have originated in King James's dislike of the anti-monarchical notes in the Geneva.
So now that's what I just mentioned, the notes that was anti-monarch notes, where it was going against the king. That's why he wasn't a fan of marginal notes, because he was like, yo, these marginal notes ain't scriptures, it's interpretation, so don't put marginal notes in there, just put the scriptures.
But also reflected unease about the prospect that marginal notes might reflect a particular theological perspective. Such quotations of places to be marginally set down as shall serve for the fit reference of one scripture to another. Places are verses. This rule gave authority for the revisers to produce a system of cross references. Every particular man of each company to take the same chapter or chapters, and having translated or amended them.
But now it says the company of every man. So now they translated this Bible in companies, meaning there was 6 different companies. One man would translate parts of the Old Testament. Another group would do the next part. A group would do the Apocrypha. A group would do the New Testament. So they would have the best Hebrew and Greek scholars of the time. And they say that them Hebrew and Greek scholars say that the Hebrew and Greek scholars that they have today can't match the ones that was around in the 1600s. So now they had the best Hebrew and Greek scholars of the time, and they sat them down in companies. So this company would review this book, edit this book, or translate this book. Then they would pass it to another company, and another company would review it and be like, nah, I don't think that's right. Then they would send it off and do it again. So they made sure the translation was now to perfect. So okay, go ahead.
Khan, severally by himself, where he thinketh good, all to meet together, confer what they have done, and agree for the parts, and agree for their parts what shall stand. As any one company hath dispatched any one book in this manner, they shall send it to the rest to
So
be
now, so it's talking about the companies now. If any man's got a book, now they have to send it to the rest. Meaning, this part's been translated now. The other brothers that you're working with have to look and go over it. So it wasn't no one man that translated the King James version of the Bible. They had many translators. They had just under 50, I believe. They had 47 scholars. That's lucky. Go ahead.
to be considered of seriously and judiciously, for His Majesty is very careful in at this point. If any company upon the review of the book so sent doubt it or
So now this is letting you know, it goes, if any company upon the review of the book so sent doubt or differ upon any place. So now it's letting you know if anything that the translated differs. Go ahead.
to send them word thereof. Note the place and the and
So
withal.
now if you translated Genesis and I had an issue with your translation, I would say to you, yo, in Genesis 1 and 5, you put this word, but it would be better if you put this word. And then other people review it and they'll decide, I think that word should stay, or change that word. So they done it properly. Go ahead.
And withal send their reasons, to which if they consent not, the difference to be compounded at the general meeting, which is to be of the chief persons.
So now, if you and another translator disagreed, then there would be a meeting with the chief persons, meaning the seniors and so forth that understand records and whatnot, and they would look and they'll be like, nah, that's okay. No, change that. So no man could just put his own thing in there, because then the other companies would disagree and say, nah, that shouldn't be there. And if you advocated that it should be there, then it would go to the senior men and they would look into it and say, no, it shouldn't be there. So lucky, let me get the next slide. Yes, lucky, go ahead.
12, letters to be sent from every bishop to the rest of his clergy, admonishing them of this translation in hand, and to move and charge as many as being skillful in the tongues, and having taken pains in that kind, to send his particular observation to the company, either at Westminster, Cambridge, or Oxford.
And these men that translated the Bible was educated men. There was men that was in Cambridge, Westminster, or Oxford. Today, those are your top universities, man. Those are your top universities today. All the translators, most of them came through those places. Westminster, Cambridge, or Oxford. Most of them was bishops in Oxford, Cambridge, or Westminster. So there wasn't no small timers. There was your best translators of that day. Go ahead.
The directors in each company to be the deans of Westminster and Chester for that place, and the king's professors in Hebrew or Greek in each university.
See? And now those professors of Hebrew and Greek in each university, and those professors would come to the meetings, man. Those professors that knew the Hebrew and Greek. So imagine there's a man that knows the Hebrew in Oxford, there's a man that knows the Hebrew in Westminster, there's a man that knows the Hebrew in Cambridge, and all of them would come together and go over these records and look and see if the right Hebrew words are being used. They would check and see if the right words are being used. And same with the ones that were speaking Greek as well. They would do the same thing. There was bishops and scholars and professors in Hebrew and Greek. So they knew what they was talking about. Yes, lucky, go ahead.
King's professors, more commonly known as Regius professors, are nominated by the crown. They had originated as acts of royal beneficence at the time of the Reformation, when Henry VIII had funded the original Regius professorships, but by the early 17th century had become an important mechanism by which the crown exercised authority in the universities.
So they're saying that they exercise power in the universities. Go ahead.
The Dean of Westminster was the dotingly learned Lancelot Andrews, and the Dean of Chester was William Barlow, and the official historian of the Hampton Court Conference. the Regius Professor of Hebrew.
He was the
Edward.
professor of Hebrew. So if anything was wrong with these records, these men would have knew, because they're professors in a certain field. Some are professors in Hebrew, some are professors in Greek. And it's not just one professor of Hebrew, and it's not just one professor of Greek. There's multiple of them. So all of them, when they came together, they understood that, yo, we're putting this translation together. And that's why the King James Version is so great, because why? The translators were skilled in everything that in everything that they done in the scriptures. They were skilled in Hebrew, Greek, Aramaic. Some was in Syriac. Some was all of those things. They was all skilled in different languages. So they all came together, and then they read over manuscripts and so forth. And then they'll be like, all right, let's use that word. Let's not use that word. If we use that word, there, it's confusing. So they would come together like that and decide what they was going to use. That's Lucky. Go ahead.
Khan, the Regius Professors of Hebrew, Edward Lively at Cambridge, John Harding at Oxford, and Greek, Andrew Downes at Cambridge, John Perrin at Oxford, all of whom are discussed in the next chapter, did not all go on to play an important role in the translation. Indeed, Lively died before it began, but they were not appointed simply for their personal qualities. They had all been appointed to their chairs by the monarch, and so were expected to keep the king's wishes in mind as they directed the translators. These translations to be used when they agree with the text than the bishop's Bible, Trundle's, Matthew's, Coverdale's, Whitchurch.
So all of these right here are English translations of the Bible. So the saying, go through those, revise those English versions of the Bible, and then whatever words they use correct, just keep those words. So they're saying whichever one relates closely to what you're trying to get at in this translation, use those words. So even they understood the translations of the English Bibles was good. They understood that it was good, but they was just out here trying to make a better version. Go ahead.
Khan, besides the said directors before mentioned, 3 or 4 of the most ancient and grave divines in either of the universities not employed in translating, to be assigned to the vice chancellor upon conference with the rest of the heads, to be overseers of the translations, as well Hebrew heads, to be as well as Greek, for the better observation of the 4th rule above specified.
Go ahead.
These rules were quite unprecedented in their rigor, whereas previous translations had been the work of a small number of individuals.
So now this is previous translations had been the work of a smaller amount of individuals, meaning 1 man, 2 men, 3 men. This right here, they're getting loads of men, 47 scholars, the best of the best. Go ahead.
Khan, or a group of slapdash bishops. The KJV was a carefully meditated enterprise in which panels of translators worked collaboratively.
So next, it says panels of translators worked collaboratively, meaning they all worked together. Many translators worked together to get you the version of the King James Bible. But now when people tell you, oh, why is there so much versions of the English Bible? What you'll find is the ones we went over last week, none of these translators said that was a bad version. None of them said it differs. They wanted the chapters and the layouts the same. They wanted the same layouts, the verse numbers, passages the same, because they knew there was good translations, but they was just trying to make a better translation. But those are good translations, nevertheless. Go ahead.
Nothing comparable had been attempted since antiquity, when the elders of Israel gathered in Alexandria.
So now this is talking about the Septuagint, when I think it was Alexander the Greek. He called it the version of the 70, because I believe it was translated in about 70 days. So now he forced them to translate their records into Greek. So now he made them translate their records out of Hebrew into Greek, and then they had a copy of it in the library down there in Alexandria in Egypt. Go ahead. But that's a whole other topic. Lucky, go ahead.
That's the end of that slide.
Also, lucky, yeah. Go ahead.
Go on. The Septuagint, with consistent principles and a remarkably even style. The KJV translators were determined to improve upon that precedent because, as the translator Miles Smith explained in the preface to the KJV, the Septuagint translators were said to have finished the task in 72 days. But the KJV translators had sufficient time for revision. Neither were barred or hindered from going over it again, having once done it.
So now they said this version is going to be, they're going to have more time than they did with the Septuagint, and they're saying with this, they're going to have time to go over it. So now they had the council in, I want to say 1603 or 1605, one of them, I believe 1603. I think they had it in about 1603. And then the Bible didn't come out till 1611. So they had about 7-8 years. So lucky, go ahead.
Karan Khan, it is difficult to judge exactly how the translators work, but there are several documents that afford glimpses into their practices. The most important of these from the translators to the Synod of Dort. Wait, once again. The most important of these from the perspective of guiding principles was a report by one of the translators to the Synod of Dort. In 1618, 7 years after the KJV had been published, the assembly, now known as the Synod of Dort, was convened in Dordrecht by the Dutch Reformed Church to deal with the dispute between Calvinists and Arminians, just as the Hampton Court Conference had commissioned a new version of the Bible, so the Synod of Dort approved new translation of the Bible.
Well, they also approved the new translation of the Bible. That's in Dutch. So that's a whole nother topic, but so lucky, go ahead.
Karan Khan, the 5 English delegates to the Synod, the resolute Calvinist Samuel Ward, a member of the Cambridge Company that translated the Apocrypha.
So now they also translated the Apocrypha. They had a company that worked in the Apocrypha also, which lets you know the Apocrypha was in the Bible. Go ahead.
Karan Khan, Ward submitted an account written in the international language of Latin, which set out the 8 rules that had guided the process of translation. Although the first 2 simply summarized the elements in the original 15 rules, the other 6 are in effect.
So lucky, go ahead.
The translators were not being asked to create a new version of the Bible.
Well, now this is some of the rules they're saying. They said the translators were not being asked to create a new version of the Bible. So when people tell you, oh, this is a new version of the Bible, it's not. It says the translators were not being asked to create a new version of the Bible. Go ahead.
But rather to revise the established version.
So the Bibles that was already here, they revised them. And when you revise something, you study it and make it better. So they revised the previous versions and made this version better. That's what they did. They didn't make a new Bible. They didn't make something brand new. They revised the previous versions. And that was in their rules, that not to change much, just revise it. That was in their rules. Go ahead.
Karan, removing any blemishes or inaccuracies. Parallel pages.
That's what they did. They revised the previous English Bibles and removed any blemishes or inaccuracies. Go ahead.
Karan, parallel pages would be recorded in the margins but there would be no marginal commentary.
And because they remove marginal notes, so there'll be no marginal commentary back then. Go ahead.
Where a Hebrew or Greek word admits two meanings of
So now, some words in Hebrew and Greek that you use, and there's two meanings. It means two things. So this is what they had to do so you could get the right meaning. Go ahead.
The one was to be expressed in the text, the other in the margin.
So now they'll put one in the text and the other in the margin in case, because there's two words, now maybe. Now, if you want to choose the other, they'll put one in the text, one in the margin. So they would do it based off context. So now one word would be in the text, one word would be in the margin. Because now some words in Hebrew and Greek, two words could mean the same thing. So now they used, no, in English as well, a word, the same in English. In English, one word could mean 5 different things depending on the context. So they put one in the notes, one in the text. Go ahead.
The same to be done where the variant readings were found in different but reputable versions of the Hebrew and Greek texts.
So then you would see certain words in the margin. That's why they put certain words in there. Lucky, go ahead.
The more difficult Hebraisms and Grecisms were consigned to the margin.
So now, difficult words that if they didn't even know the context, guess what? They wouldn't wing it and make it up. They would just put it in the margin. Go ahead.
In the translation of Tobit and Judith, when any great discrepancy is found between the Greek text and the Old Vulgate Latin, they followed the Greek text by preference.
So now, in certain translations, if they had a Hebrew version and a Greek version, they would look at both, and then obviously they're going to pick and choose which one they're going to follow. Now, if it makes more sense in the Greek to them than it did in the Hebrew, then they follow the Greek one. But nonetheless, there was all the same thing. Just one would just be more informative with certain words which they understood more. So that's all it was. So then here it says discrepancies found between the Greek text and the Old Vulgate Latin. They followed the Greek text by preference. So now, if they looked at the Latin Vulgate and the Greek and they couldn't decipher what should be there, then they would follow what was in the Greek. That's what they're saying, by preference. Go ahead.
The Old Vulgate Latin refers to Jerome's translation from the Aramaic text of the apocryphal books of Tobit and Judith. That text was based on the Greek rather than the lost Hebrew origin.
So now they're saying that Apocrypha was based on the Greek, because why? At the time, who at the time of the Apocrypha, who was ruling over us? The Greeks. So a lot of us were speaking in Greek. Go ahead.
The Greek text followed by preference is the Septuagint. Words that it was anywhere necessary to insert into the text to complete the meaning were to be distinguished by another type, small Roman.
So now, some translations from the Hebrew and the Greek, if they just translated it exactly how it is from the Hebrew and the Greek, it wouldn't make sense in English. So in order for the sentence to make sense, they had to make a sentence and to make it make sense. And where they made it make sense, they used small Roman, meaning they changed the lettering. So you would know that, all right, these words here to make this sentence wasn't originally there. So they called it small Roman. So even they understood certain words wouldn't be there, because in Hebrew is a very rough language. Whereas in English, you make sentences and whatnot. Hebrew is more of a direct language. So now, if they wrote it direct, you wouldn't understand it. So they wrote certain words in there to make the sentence make sense. And where did they do that? In there, and they used small Roman, so you could understand what wasn't there, but what they're putting there to make the sentence make sense. Like, say, for instance, let's say in English, it says, let's say in English, you say, come to the kitchen now. In Hebrew, it might be, come kitchen now. So they would put certain words in to make the sentence make sense. So that's what they did. So now, and they let you know where they put it in to make it make sense, where the lettering changes. So they use a thing called small Roman, which is like a different font. And then that font lets you know, all right, then they've put this in to make the sentence make sense. Go ahead.
New arguments were to be prefixed to every book and new headings to every chapter.
And they put new arguments were to be prefixed to every book and new headings to every chapter. And that's why when you look in your Bible at the top of there, there's a heading, like a title of what the chapter's about. So that's what they added. That's lucky. Go ahead.
Perhaps the most impractical of the rules was number 4.
So now this is going over the rules because there were certain rules when it came to the translation. So now, don't think these men had free reign to translate what they want and do what they wanted. They had certain rules and guidelines that they had to follow. Yes, lucky. Go ahead.
Which implied that all the members of the company would translate or amend the books, all the books that had been assigned to the company. There is some evidence that in practice the work was divided up. The contemporary biographer of John Boyce, a member of the Cambridge Company responsible for the Apocrypha, says that the part of the Apocrypha was allotted to him.
So now this man said part of the Apocrypha was allotted to him. So he was translating a part of the Apocrypha. Listen, you can find the translators of the King James Version of the book. You can find the translators. There's some of them, you can find out about their life. You can find out, some of them got autobiographies. So lucky, go ahead.
And when he had finished his own part, at the earnest request of him to whom it was assigned, he undertook a second.
So now when he finished his part of the Apocrypha, to whom it was assigned, he undertook another part of translating the Apocrypha. Go ahead.
Similarly, one manuscript list, now in the British Library, of the 10 members of the Westminster Company responsible for the books from Genesis to 2 Kings.
So now there was a company responsible from the book from Genesis to 2 Kings. So all these companies worked on different parts of the Bible. It weren't one translator. One company would do one part, another company would do another part. That's lucky. Go ahead.
Khan divides the company into 2 groups. One responsible for
the Pentateuch.
Pentateuch.
And so the Pentateuch is the first 5 books of Moses. So that's what the Pentateuch is. That's the name that they called it. So that's just means the first 5 books of Moses. That's lucky. Go ahead.
And the other for the remaining books of their section. The rules seem to have been broken most often is number 2 on the spelling of proper names.
So now they're letting you know with the King James Version of the Bible, one of the only rules that was broken was the spelling of the names. Because in it, when we read it, they didn't want the spelling of the names to change, but they said that rule was broken. But that's neither here or there because we know what the names are, but they just tweak the spellings a little bit. So lucky, go ahead.
Isaiah, the English name of the prophet, derives from the abbreviation form of his Hebrew name used in the title of his book. A fuller Hebrew form is used in the text. It must, however, have been the precedent of the Bishop's Bible that caused the revisers to call him Isai.
So now it says they called him Isai. So now one of the rules that they said they was breaking was the names of the prophets. So now the names, they transliterated them. But in the council, they was like, no, we want the names to stay the same as what would be in the Great Bible. That's lucky. Go ahead.
In the 1611 text of 2 Kings 19 and 2, from 1629 onwards, the name was spelled Isaiah. On the 21 occasions in which he appears in the New Testament, however, the name is spelled Isaias, its Greek form.
See, so now even they understand that Isaiah in the New Testament is Greek for Isaiah, but now they said this is what they wanted the rules to be. His name is Isaiah in the Old Testament, and his name should have been Isaiah in the New Testament. But because they translated the New Testament in Greek, they used what Isaiah would be in the Greek. even though they didn't want that initially, because that was rule number 2 that they wanted them to follow. So okay, go ahead.
Similarly, Jeremiah is spelled in the Old Testament, but in Matthew's Gospel he appears as Leremi on 3 occasions.
So now even they know what changed in the Bible. They know. So they know he appeared as Jeremy. So they know in the Old Testament it was Jeremiah, and then in the New Testament it became Jeremy. So they knew so like, bear with me 1 second. Salaki Habaniga, can you hear me?
Khan.
Yes, Lucky, go ahead.
Khan. 2 and 17, 16 and 14, and 27 and 9 in the 1611.
So now, these men that translated the Bible, you think they don't know about the translation? They know about the translation, man, because they sat down in companies and decided to work on the translation. So, Lucky, go ahead.
Khan, in the 1611 text and the modern text of the KJV.
This right here in the 1611, they're telling you that Isaiah, they called him Isaiah in the New Testament, even though it was meant, they said they should have called him Isaiah. They said Jeremiah in the Old Testament is Jeremiah's, where the New it should have been Jeremiah. But then the companies that translated the New Testament translated it according to what the name would be in Greek. So that's the difference between the name. Go ahead.
Khan, and in the modern text of KJV as Jeremy, we may be relieved that he is not vulgarly called Jerry. Rules formulated in advance of a project are inevitably adjusted to accord with the practicalities of the job. In case of the KJV, there is evidence both shortcuts and of going the extra mile.
So go ahead.
For 21st century readers, the most surprising feature of the early editions of the KJV is the inclusion of the Apocrypha.
So now, a lot of people didn't believe that Apocrypha was, well, but they knew it was authentic, but they didn't believe it was canon. They believe that it's good for instructions of life, but it's not canon. So even back then, a lot of people kind of was skeptical of it because they was like, it's good for education, but we don't know if it's canon, but it is canon. So Lucky, go ahead.
Lucky, can you go back a slide? I tapped the thing.
Go ahead.
Khan, the Protestant canon now consists of the 39 books of the Old Testament and 27 books of the New Testament. The Old Testament is identical with Jewish and Roman Catholic canon, though some of the 24 books of the Hebrew canon have been subdivided.
It goes, some of the 24 books of the Hebrew canon have been subdivided. So what does that mean? Now, back then, I want to say Nehemiah and Ezra was one book. Nehemiah and Ezra was one book. And then a lot of the prophets, they was all put in one book called the Minor Prophets. So you see like how certain like Obadiah and them have their own book now. Back then, they didn't have their own book. That was just called the Minor Prophets. And then Nehemiah and Ezra was one book. So what you might have some idiot say to you, look, how come the Bible that you read has more books than this Bible here? It's not. It's just that those books were subdivided and put in categories. So Nehemiah and Ezra was one book. Hold on, let me see if I can put it on Wikipedia. It should tell you. Say that again. Not yet. Hold on, bear with me. See? Listen, I know. Listen, I know what I'm talking about. People think, people think we don't know what we're talking about. It says, in the Hebrew Bible, the books of Ezra and Nehemiah were originally a single book. So those were one book. So you'll be like, how come this Bible's got less books than this one? And it doesn't. It's just that Nehemiah and Ezra and Nehemiah was one book. And then they had a thing called, hold on. If I pull up, hold on, let me stop sharing this. Let me pull up a thing called the Minor Prophets. That's what they call them. See, so now this is what hold on. Let me share my screen. All right, so this is what they considered the minor prophets. So the books of the minor prophets in the Old Testament was Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi. So he says these 12 books are sometimes referred to as the books of the 12 and are considered minor because they are shorter than the writings of the major prophets like Isaiah and Jeremiah. So that's why they kind of was all subdivided into a thing called the minor prophets because their book was a lot shorter. So if someone comes to you and says, and shows you proof that there's less books in this Bible than this one, this is the reason why it's just subdivided.
Oh, you know, it's crazy. Yeah. I knew they were called the minor prophets, you know, but I was told they were called that because they're less important or they're not as big as like Moses and whatnot. So simply because their books shorter.
Yeah, their books are shorter. So them with shorter books, whereas Isaiah's got 60 something chapters in his book, Jeremiah's got loads in his book. So now that's why they called them the minor prophets. So it was a thing subdivided. Just think back then to like the Bible wasn't how you have it today, all books in one. You had scrolls. So back then, obviously the scroll of Obadiah would have been short compared to the scroll of Isaiah. The scroll of Isaiah would have been, I don't know how much foot long, whereas the scroll of Obadiah would have been a lot smaller. That's lucky, go ahead. So that's all. If a man ever comes to you and says, why is there more books in this one than this one? That's the answer.
So you said that before Geneva, there was no numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So there's one big round scroll.
One scroll.
So I mean, like, how big the table to roll down?
So apparently, some of the scrolls are about 10 foot. So you're rolling a scroll depending on how long it is. But back then, it probably wouldn't be that hard to find what you're looking for because it's not like now where now we have the Bible where every book's in there. Back then, you had it by scroll. So you just have the scroll of Obadiah. So if you knew what you was looking for in Obadiah, if you knew that you're looking for Obadiah, you just go to your scroll of Obadiah. So you just have your scroll over there, you scroll at Isaiah. So it wouldn't take as long as we think.
Okay. And
whereas
the regular man couldn't get that.
Nah, the regular man didn't have no scrolls.
Access to it.
Access to the scrolls.
He couldn't get it.
Unless they had a copy. So, but back then, copies were hard to come by, so not everyone had them.
No, so, you know, you go to the library, you can read a book. Can a regular man go to the temple and read it? No. The priest would have to be in there and read it to you, unless you filthy rich and you ended up with a copy. But for the most part, most people didn't have a copy. You would learn this from your parents, so you would learn this when you would go to the temple on the Sabbath day. You would learn the scriptures. Go ahead.
Come on. The order of the books is also different.
So now it says the order of the books is also different, but that don't mean the contents inside the books have changed. Just the order is different. Go ahead.
In that the prophets are placed at the end by Christian editors, so that the last two verses of Malachi, the final book concerning Elijah, form a transition to the New Testament and a foreshadowing of the link between Elijah and John the Baptist. For example, Matthew 11 and 14. As for the New Testament, Luther had doubts about the canonicity of Hebrews, James, Jude, and Revelation.
So back then, some of these people that was translating, they was skeptical of some of the books that was in there, but this ain't their job to be skeptical of the books. Whether you're skeptical of the books or not, your job's to translate it. Listen, when I was in McDonald's, I was skeptical about selling someone a sausage roll. When I worked in McDonald's, it don't change the fact that you got a job to do. So, Lucky, go ahead.
Can't. And dislike James for its insistence that faith without works is dead.
See, so now they didn't understand the scripture, so they was like, it says faith without works is dead. Now, this man right here is letting you know that he questioned some of the books that was in the Bible because of what it said, because of his understanding. And guess what? The proof the Bible let him change this, he didn't take it out. It's still in there. Even though he didn't agree with faith without works is dead, it's still in the Bible. Why wouldn't he just take it out? Which lets you know the Bible ain't been changed, man. Because he could have took it out. Now, there's some things they didn't understand at the time. That's Lucky, go ahead.
Calm. But his decision to include these books in the Bible meant that the Protestant New Testament canon became identical with the Roman Catholic canon.
And that part there is heavy, you know why? Because if the Protestants and the Catholics believe different things, but they still got the same books in their Bible, it means the Bible's correct, man. It means whether a man picked up a Catholic Bible or a Protestant Bible, it says the same thing. So when people say, yo, why is there all these different versions of the Bible that says different things? Right here, it's letting you know the Catholic canon and the Protestant canon had the same books in there, man. Said it was identical. So, Lucky, go ahead.
Differences arose, however, over the body of writings known to Roman Catholics as Deuteronical and to Protestants as apocryphal.
So this is where the different. Some believed in the Apocrypha, some didn't. Go ahead.
The term Deuteronical implies that these writings belong to a second layer of the canon, distinguished by the fact that they survive only in Greek.
And they were skeptical because they was like, these books survive only in Greek. But what you have to realize is we was ruled over by the Greeks. I mean, what would have been the main language of the time? Greek. So it makes sense that the book's gonna survive in Greek. Go ahead.
Whereas the term apocryphal is pejorative and implies that these writings are of doubtful authorship.
So that's why they named it the Apocrypha, because there was like it's of doubtful authorship. So they didn't understand it because they used to see records in Hebrew, and there's like only the Greek survives. So now that's why they called it the Apocrypha and just pull it in its own book in the middle. Go ahead.
In contrast to canonical writings of which God is the author.
So now they said God is the author of the canonical writings, and then with the Apocrypha, they was like they're not too sure. Go ahead.
The standing of these books, which entered the early church through Hellenistic Jews of Alexandria.
So just letting you know, these writings entered through Hellenistic Jews of Alexandria. Why? Because where the Apocrypha took place, where amongst what? The Greeks, man. Amongst the Greeks, while we was at war with them, that's when them brothers was writing them records. Go ahead.
Had long been a matter for contention. Unease first surfaced in the 4th century with the Greek theologians began to give a privileged place to the books that were canonical in Hebrew.
So that's why a lot of them wasn't sure about the Apocrypha, because why? They gave leverage to the books which was written in Hebrew. So that's why they were skeptical of the Apocrypha, because they're just being like how Jews was being back then. Come on, do you think a man that was born in the land wants to hear anything about the Apocrypha? He don't want to hear about the Greek captivity and you're speaking Greek and trying to come back. He don't want to hear that. The same thing with these, like they was giving priority to the Hebrew writings and they weren't too sure about the Greek ones. But the Apocrypha is 100% the word of God, man. 100% the word of God. So, Lucky, go ahead.
In the West, it was Jerome who, under the influence of Greek churchmen, and as a result of his own Hebrew studies, first introduced the term Apocrypha to denote books of the church, as distinct from these books as canonical.
Well, they understood that these was books of the church, but they just wasn't considering them canon. Go ahead.
Though a muted debate continued through the centuries, especially in the East. Throughout the centuries preceding the Reformation, in the disputed books were inserted at appropriate places in the Old Testament, so giving them the same status as canonical books. But Protestant and reservations led to their being gathered together and published as a separate section of the Bible.
So now that's why they gathered them together and put them in the middle as a separate section in the Bible. That's why you will see Old Testament, Apocrypha, New Testament, when really it's all one book. But that's why they will have it there. So they said, all right, then the ones we're not sure about, we're just going to gather them together and put them in one place. And that's why they put the Apocrypha in there like that. Go ahead.
That's the end. Or
don't quote me on it. I'm sure that's the reason why You find records of Paul in the Apocrypha. I'm sure you find a record of Paul in the Apocrypha, from what I remember.
Yeah.
You do, right? I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. I'll find it next week, but I'm sure you do. But that's the reason why. Slacky, go ahead.
Khan. The Catholic Church responded at the Council of Trent by declaring these books to be Deuteronical.
So now, then there was another. They had a Council of Trent. You know how much council they had? Apparently, they say the most powerful council they had was the Council of Trent. But Slacky, go ahead.
Khan. Protestants were divided about the Apocrypha. Lutherans argued that the Apocrypha were valuable but uninspired.
So people argued that it was valuable but uninspired. Go ahead.
Supplements to the inspired scriptures and encouraged their study. Luther's Bible included the Apocrypha except for 1st and 2nd Esdras as an appendix. The Geneva Bible also included the Apocrypha, noting that they were useful.
So see, the Geneva Bible had them, said it's useful. Go ahead.
For knowledge of history and instruction of godly manners. The Church of England insisted and still insists that the Apocrypha be included in any Bible intended for use in public worship.
See, so now in your Christian church, that means the Apocrypha is supposed to be in the Bible, man. Because they said the Apocrypha should be used in any place of public worship. While people's debating about if it's canon or not, they was like, yo, this Apocrypha should be in a Bible wherever there's public worship, which would be a place like your church. The Apocrypha is supposed to be in there. Go ahead.
Khan, though from the Apocrypha, though not in the Bibles intended for private study, and includes passages from the Apocrypha in its lectionary and liturgy, but insists in Article 6 of the 39 articles that the other books, the term Apocrypha is not used. The Church doth read, for example, of life and instruction of manners, but yet doth it not apply them to establish any doctrine. Puritans such as the Hebraist Hugh Bowtown, who is notably absent from the list of translators, inveighed against the inclusion of the Apocrypha, arguing that all who make the Apocrypha part of the Holy Bible make God the author of lying fables.
So yeah, they've been debating for time about if it's canon or not. The whole point it is, Lucky, go ahead.
And vain speech. John Reynolds, who was one of the translators, had given a series of 250 lectures in which he argued that the Apocrypha were uncannonally. After that, many lectures and listener who was still
so
awake.
Now I just gave loads of reasons why he believes it shouldn't be in there. Hold on, let me see if there's any more need. Go ahead.
Other human writings after the restoration of the monarchy in 1660, Bibles used for reading in churches contain the Apocrypha, as did some Bibles produced for private study.
This is letting you know that a lot of the Bibles contain the Apocrypha. This is before they took it out in the 1800s. Go ahead.
But in the 19th century, the decision of the British and Foreign Bible Society to exclude the Apocrypha from their Bibles then dealt with a mortal blow to their inclusion. And thereafter, the Apocrypha disappeared from Bibles on sale to the general public.
So that's why they removed the Apocrypha. That's the reason why they removed it. Now, it was in there in the early Bibles. They removed it from the 18th century for that reason. Lucky, go ahead.
The principles for choosing the members of the companies, as the committees were called, made the process relatively straightforward. and within 5 months of the Hampton Court Conference, Bishop Bancroft had chosen his teams, assisted in small measure by Thomas Bilson, Bishop of Winchester, whose infirmities, sciatica, arthritis, vertigo, tinnitus, and many obstructions and extreme windinnesses precluded more active involvement. The process of translation and revision was to be undertaken by 6 companies.
Now, with the King James Version, the process was undertaken by 6 companies. Now, you had a number of men inside these companies that would translate each different sections of the Bible. So a man would do from Genesis to Kings, First Kings. A man would do from Second Kings to somewhere else. Someone else, another company would do the Apocrypha. Someone would do Matthew and Mark. Someone would do Luke and John, and so forth. So that's how the companies work. And afterwards, they would all review it and then see, all right, now that word's wrong. Let's use this word instead. And then if they couldn't agree on the word to use, then they would go back to their elders and would all sit down in a meeting, and he would decide, yeah, that word can stay, yeah, that word can go. Just lucky, go ahead.
Khan, two in each of Westminster, Oxford, and Cambridge.
And guess what? These men was from Oxford and Cambridge. Don't think these were just some men with no credentials that weren't skilled. These men was from Oxford and Cambridge, which is, I'm sure, the top universities today. Just from Oxford, Westminster, and Cambridge. That's university to where most people can't even get in there, man. The people that was working on these translations was your, they called them your professor in Hebrews, man. They called them your professor in Hebrew and your professors in Greek, which means they was great at Hebrew and Greek. Go ahead.
Khan, the reason for the choice of Westminster as opposed to the London from which it was then separate was that Westminster Abbey was a royal peculiar and so exempt from any jurisdiction other than that of the monarch.
So they went there because no one could tell them nothing, only the monarchs. Lucky, go ahead.
Khan, the surviving lists of translators are not entirely consistent, but we know a good deal about most of them, and the majority of sufficient standing in their profession to have been included in the Oxford Dictionary of National Biography. I list all the known translators in the Appendix 1, together with short biographical sketches.
It goes over some translators. Like, go ahead.
Khan, Mr. Dr. Clark, Richard Clerk, matriculated 1579, Fellow of Christ College, Cambridge, was a young man and anti-Calvinist, and so clashed with the Calvinists of his college. His dislike of Calvinism gradually abated, but he remained on the conformist side of the ecclesiastical spectrum. It was his learned expertise in Hebrew that led to his being chosen as one of the translators.
So now this is one of the translators. His name's Mr. Dr. Clark, and he was chosen because his expertise in Hebrew, man. And what's the Bible translated from? Hebrew and Greek. This man was chosen as a translator because of his expertise in Hebrew. So lucky, go ahead.
Khan, Mr. Dr. Layfield, John Layfield.
Listen, you can find the translators of the King James Version of the Bible. Don't let people lie to you and tell you King James translated it. King James didn't translate a thing in there, man. King James hired translators, and the people that translated it, we're actually reading about them right now. It lets you know what they were skilled in and so forth. Go ahead.
Khan, a former fellow of Trinity College, Cambridge, who became a rector of St. Clement Danes, London. He had a good command of Greek as well as Hebrew.
This scholar that they chose also had a good command of Greek and Hebrew. This man was fluent in Greek and Hebrew. Go ahead.
Khan, but was apparently recruited for his command of architecture.
And they recruited him as well because he was good at architecture. Go ahead.
On one of the lists of translators, someone wrote beside his name, being skilled in architecture.
So now he knew Hebrew, Greek, and he was skilled in architecture. Go ahead.
His judgment was much relied on for the fabric of the tabernacle and temple.
Because this man was good at architecture. Listen, man, you think he couldn't read the measurements in the Bible and tell they're accurate? It's good at architecture, man. You can read it and say, okay, this is the ark was, yeah, it makes sense. While it is people saying, oh, because you can't build an ark and it survives, so did it. You know, architecture, you don't know. You ain't built nothing. Sometimes don't let a man that ain't some nigga that ain't left the block tell you about something that outside of what goes on in this the hood. Listen, when I want to find out anything from you about gangbanging, I'll take your advice then. But at scholarly level, I'm not gonna listen to you. You ain't done a day's work in university. Don't ever let some man that ain't studied nothing tell you that Noah didn't build an ark because according to, how does he know? According to what? Handsworth, what do you know outside the Handsworth, man? Not a thing, man. Now, if I want to know directions to Handsworth Park, I will ask you, but when it comes to anything else like building an ark and architecture, you ain't the person for that, man. Don't ever let someone tell you that Jonah couldn't get swallowed by a whale. They don't listen. Ask them when's the last time they've watched On Earth or watched the Blue Ocean or whatever the TV show is. When's the last time they've sat down and watched Blue Ocean with David Attenborough? Yeah. When have they ever watched the David Attenborough show to know about what's in the ocean? Don't ever let someone tell you, oh, a whale can't swallow a man because according to what? You. How would you know? You ain't never watched the David Attenborough show in your life, man. You ain't been Sea Life Center in your life. Don't let somebody tell you what can and can't happen if they don't even know. This is what you ask them, well, when last have you been deep in the ocean? Ask them how deep is the ocean? When last have you been in the ocean to know what's in the ocean? The answer is going to be never, man. So, Lucky, go ahead.
Mr. King, Jeffrey King, matriculated 1583, 1630, fellow of King's College, Cambridge.
Brother, man, this was another man that was from Cambridge. Lucky, go ahead.
Regius Professor of Hebrew at Cambridge, 1607 to 1608, succeeding Robert Spalding.
This translator was a professor of Hebrew at Cambridge. Hold on, let me see if is Cambridge a good university. Yeah.
Ranks 5, this is it.
See, ranks 5.
This is 6.
Mm-hmm.
This is 5.
See, it says Cambridge ranks as 5, the fifth best university in England.
Globally, no.
Globally, damn.
I'm not sure if that's old or that's old. One is old, one's 5.
Let me check. Is Westminster? Let me see what Westminster ranks. You able to check out ChatGPT? Might come up, okay? This one ain't as good as the other one. Saying this is ranked 741 in the world of universities. No. What's the one that I just checked?
Cambridge was for that one. Oxford was that one, yeah.
Let me check. Says Oxford University is widely regarded as a prestigious institution. It has been named the best university in the world for 6 consecutive years. That's it.
Even Harvard a year.
That's it. They said this is the best university in the world. And did you know your scholars that translated the Bible? A lot of them went to this university, man. Listen, don't let somebody tell me the Bible's been changed and you mean to tell me a man that studied in the best, not just studied there, men that was professors in them universities, and they knew Hebrew and Greek, and they never once said it's been changed. But you that was born about 20 years ago, didn't finish school, never read the Bible, you're gonna come and tell me the Bible's been changed. Don't ever let anybody outside of the UPK tell you anything, man. That's what I would do. Lucky. Go ahead, how about you go?
Khan, and Royal Chaplain. That's the end.
That's lucky. Go ahead.
Mr. Richardson, John Richardson.
So now this is giving you some of the translators. Go ahead.
Matriculated 1678 and 1625. Fellow of Emmanuel College, Cambridge. And from 1607 to 1617, Regius Professor of Divinity at Cambridge. He was a prominent Armenian in a university that was increasingly Calvinist, but nonetheless became a master of...
A lot of these men believed different things, but they was all professional in what they did, being translators. Go ahead.
Khan, Master of Peterhouse, Master of Trinity, and the university's Vice-Chancellor. His scholarly strength was in Biblical Hebrew.
His scholarly strength was what?
Was in Biblical Hebrew.
His scholarly strength was in Biblical Hebrew. So imagine a man whose strength is in Biblical Hebrew, and he ain't saying the Bible's been changed. How are you? And your strength ain't Biblical Hebrew. That's what I'm saying, man. Most people don't know what they're talking about. When they tell you the Bible's been changed, you just say to them, so why did the scholars that were skilled in Biblical Hebrew never make that claim? They ain't made that claim. But you're making that claim. Lucky, go ahead.
Khan, Mr. Harrison Thomas Harrison, 1555 to 1630, was a fellow of Trinity College, Cambridge, and a biblical scholar of formidable learning and remarkable expertise in Greek and Hebrew. And
he was a scholar of formidable learning and had expertise in Greek and Hebrew. Hold on. He had expertise. Hold on, let me see if I'm the right one. Meaning, and what the Bible's translated in what? Greek and Hebrew? That's lucky. Go ahead.
Khan, the first Westminster Company was charged with the translation of the Old Testament from Genesis to 2 Kings.
So now the first company done Genesis to 2 Kings. Go ahead.
Khan, there was 10 men in the company, but 4 manuscripts. Now in the British Library.
Listen, I need to go to that British Library and see the manuscripts, man. You can see the original writings of the 1611. You can see the original manuscripts. You can see all of them in the British Library. Go ahead.
British Library. Supply 4 slightly different lists.
Go ahead.
The company met in the Jerusalem chamber of Westminster Abbey and was chaired by Lancelot Andrews, who was the Dean of Westminster. He was by some measure the most powerful figure among the translators, partly because he exercised very considerable powers of patronage, but also because he was one of the most learned men in England, and he offered intellectual as well as spiritual leadership. 6 of the men Andrews recruited are well known. John Overall, the Dean of St. Paul's Cathedral, had participated in the Hampton Court Conference.
So we went over the Hampton Court Conference at the start. If you missed it, go back to that part, because that's the whole reason why they came up with the translation. Like we said, King James told them, we don't want a new Bible, we want a revised version of the other English Bibles. So that's why they had the other English Bibles close to revise them. So King James also said, they also had in the rules that they want the numbers and chapters in the same order as the Bishop's Bible. So whatever Genesis 5 was in the Bishop's Bible, they want it the same in the King James Version of the Bible. They said just copy that same pattern, keep the numbers the same, which is further proof King James didn't add his so-called lover Shakespeare's name into the Bible. If they copied the lineup from the Bishop's Bible, he said keep the same lineup, which lets you know that whole nonsense is garbage when they're trying to say, oh, Shakespeare put his name in the Bible. That don't make no sense, because they kept the same pattern from the Bishop's Bible, which was before King James was even in England, man. That's lucky. Go ahead. Oh, that's like.
Okay. Andrews, a convinced high churchman comfortable with episcopacy in ceremonialism, William Bedwell, England's leading Arabist, had fallen under the spell of Andrews at Cambridge. Richard Thomas, who was half Dutch and known as Dutch Thompson, was also a member of the Andrews Circle at Cambridge. He had a drink problem.
This is what people say. People say, "Oh, the man that translated the King James Bible had drink problems." Listen, man, you have a drink problem and go to work every day and complete your job, man. Listen, just because a man's got a drink problem in his spare time, that's what he does in his spare time. Now, when he's at work, it has to be sober. There's a difference, man. So what if he drinks in his spare time? There's a lot of things that you do in your spare time that you're not supposed to do, man. But now, when he's at work, he's at work. It's lucky, go ahead.
Khan, but was able to lend his outstanding.
Exactly, was able to lend his outstanding. You do know, there's people that you do like while it is, people think because you're a drunk, while it is the drunks that we see is them drunks that can't function. You know the ones that we see. We see the ones outside can't function. There's there's another kind of drunk where after work they go home, just drink and wake up and smell like alcohol, but they still can function and go to work. That's what this man could do. Go ahead.
Khan, his philological expertise to the project. Adrian.
See, when people tell you that men that translated was drunk, why don't they tell you about their expertise as well? They don't tell you about that part. Go ahead. They try to discredit the Bible, but what a man does in his personal life doesn't discredit the Bible. So, lucky, go ahead.
Khan, Adrian Saravia, a canon of Westminster, was an outstanding apologist for episcopos, like Thompson and Andrews. He enjoyed a European reputation for scholarship, and other members of the company were all broadly sympathetic to Andrews' philosophy and ecclesiology, but also had serious credentials as Hebraists.
They had serious credentials as Hebraists, man, meaning then you Hebrew. Go ahead.
Khan. The rigorous studies of the Old Testament requires a range of other languages.
So now they said to understand the Old Testament, you needed to understand the other languages. Go ahead.
Khan, Aramaic, Syriac, Samaritan, Ethiopic, and Arabic. But members of the company had an ample competence in such languages.
So now meaning they could speak them languages, was competent in them languages, to understood them languages. So the scholars that was translating the Bible, there weren't no men that didn't know anything. They knew languages, man, those linguists. Go ahead.
Khan. It comes as no surprise to realize that Andrews had assembled one of the two most learned of the 6 companies, and that almost all.
And this man assembled 2 of the 6 companies. Go ahead.
Khan, and that almost all of its members were drawn from Cambridge.
See, and all of its members, he assembled 2 of the most well-known, smartest companies. And 2 of them companies all came from Cambridge, which is letting you know these scholars weren't no little men, man. They was from Cambridge and everything. That's lucky. Go ahead.
Khan. Andrew Bing may have been appointed because he was the godson of Archbishop Whitgift.
Now, some people are saying, some men was only appointed to work on the translation because they had certain links. Go ahead.
Khan. Though he also had excellent Hebrew.
He had what?
Excellent Hebrew.
See, so people say, no, I was appointed because, he's someone's godson. He also had excellent Hebrew, man. He was appointed for his excellent Hebrew. Go ahead.
Khan. John Richardson was one of the earliest English Armenian theologians, an unpopular position at Cambridge. and had scholarly strength in biblical Hebrew.
And what we're reading is most of these men they chose had scholarly strength in biblical Hebrew. Now, if the Bible was changed, these men would have knew. They spoke biblical Hebrew. So they would have been able to know, like, oh, that's changed. But they've not once said that, which lets you know the Bible hasn't been changed. Go ahead.
The final two members of the company both had Puritan leanings.
So, like we said, a Puritan is a Protestant that was exiled and came back, and Puritan is because they wanted to purify the Church of England, because there was the Protestant church was doing Catholic practices. The Puritans was more of a devout sect of Protestants, so they called them Puritans because they wanted to purify the Church of England, get rid of the crosses and get rid of all of the Catholic practices that was doing. So over time they got the name Puritan because they wanted to purify the church. Go ahead.
Lawrence Chatterton had been one of the four Puritan delegates at the Hampton Court Conference, and was a good Hebraist. His age contributed to his standing. He was 75 when the King James Version was published, and lived to be 103. Thomas Harrison had, despite his Puritan sympathies, been a friend of Lancelot Andrewes at the school and university. He was the heavyweight intellectual on the committee, with daunting expertise in both Greek and Hebrew.
And this man had daunting expertise in both Greek and Hebrew. He was a heavyweight in Greek and Hebrew, man. He's one of the translators. Go ahead.
He was also the only translator in the company whose prodigious learning rivaled that of Andrews.
So now Andrews was a bad boy with Hebrew and Greek, and now they're saying this man was so good at Hebrew and Greek that his education rivaled Andrews, man. And these is the kind of men that was translating the Bible, men that specialized in this. Anyway, we didn't even get halfway through. We'll finish up next week. So lucky, man, you got a clap it up. We can pause it. So lucky, we're up on the time. We'll finish it off next week if we get to it. We'll actually get into the proper translation next week. We didn't even get into it, but Salakia Habanyiga, you can call it.
Man of Israel, Ahmadium Shabbat, Ahmadium Barak, Yahweh Hashem
Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Kafam,
Yadimatar, Saul, Ahmadium Shabbat, Ahmadium Barak, Yahweh Hashem Yadimatar. Class dismissed.
All right, for weather again, Israel will be here tomorrow with Captain Karafis, 7 p.m. till 9. All right, Shalom, Israel. For weather again, Haban Yigal, Shalom, Israel.